You get in bed, tired, fatigued, exhausted, but yet you cannot sleep. You feel wired. You lie on the bed, you feel this energy in your body. You feel the mind racing. You feel strange sensation in your body, in your head. You perceive energy around. Insomnia is one of the most common kundalini induced symptoms. If you're having a kundalini syndrome or a so-called spiritual emergency, today we will discuss a little bit about the insomnia you're experiencing and try to find the reasons behind it and what to do to improve your night sleep. This is Alan, and I had a kundalini awakening in 2018. Back then I was an agnostic, rational, logical led person, and I thought I was nuts. I was completely out of my mind. Thus, kundalini had me losing all things I owned. I lost everything I owned. I was basically homeless, and I almost took my life. That is why those days I'm helping people overcome the kundalini syndrome. I'm on a mission to spread information on it. Now, sleep was the worst symptom I had experienced during a kundalini awakening. How did it work? Basically, I would lay down to try to sleep, but I couldn't. Why? Because I felt this energy coming up my body. Imagine this, a flame, like a flame. There's the fire, and the flames by nature tend to move upwards. They don't move horizontally, they move vertically. So as I was lying, let me see if I can use my hand. As I was lying, I would feel the fire trying to pierce my body. This is the stomach, let's say. This is my head. This is the feet. It's like this fire was like doing this work and trying to come up this way, and try to move to a race. And to counteract this, I didn't know anything back then about kundalini, and there was no guidance, and there's not much even today. That's why I'm here. So the best thing I could think is there was a wall here. I just moved the mattress on the floor, and I used to sleep half sitting. I don't know, I can do this with the hands. Imagine I was sleeping with my back against the wall, and half of the body was lying, and the rest of the body was vertical, so that the energy could leave from the skull, from the chakra, the crown. Arguably, the lack of sleep was, and I bet it's for everyone during a kundalini awakening, the worst thing that could happen, because sleep is the pillar. Sleep is the pillar of life. If we don't sleep, and the studies nowadays are huge, clinical studies, sleep is the most important thing for our body and our mind. Is like drinking, it's like eating. If you miss sleep, you miss life. Anything is based on a good night's sleep. If you cannot sleep, everything is compromised. Decision making, this is the reason I lost everything. My sleep was so impaired that cognition became to degrade, and when cognition is degraded, your rationality and your decision making skills are going to shit. There's no way around it. You can resist a bit, but eventually, if you don't fix your sleep, you will end up in a really bad spot. So I put a really great accent on this. Is the first thing I say to people in kundalini syndrome: fix your sleep. You have to put your first priority on fixing the sleep. Now, a funny thing is, let's digress a little bit now. During the initial phases of my own kundalini awakening, I remember, and I'm not joking, I recall I did not need to neither sleep or eat as much, because it was like I was nurtured and fed by this kundalini energy. And I recall I wasn't really not sleeping at all or not eating at all, because the mind wants something to eat. But I felt like I didn't feel like sleeping or hungry for 3 days, 4 days in a row, which is something unthinkable, but it happened. And so this is the irony. You might have an initial phase, or even phases, in which you do not feel like sleeping at all, but eventually these symptoms will get you. I hope not, but it is one of the most common symptoms that people report during a kundalini awakening. So I have some notes here. And again, sleep is a pillar. And again, I suggest to curate this aspect before anything else. Before anything else, fix your sleep. How it feels like. Different people have different experiences. You can maybe you can relate to my own that I just described, or maybe you have totally different sensations. You feel like buzzing, your body is charged, full of electricity. You feel like vibration, you're lying there and you feel vibrations, or you're closing your eyes and you see strange imagery. You see geometric patterns in the black of your eyes. When you close your eyes, you start to see stuff. Maybe you perceive energy around. Maybe you perceive also entities around you. You maybe feel intense waves of heat or cold. So the things may vary a lot based on the person. The gist is that you used to sleep good, or at least decently, and now you're totally disrupted and unable to rest. Of course, you should, before use kundalini as a culprit, make sure there is not another underlying condition that is causing you not to sleep. But we will assume that this symptom just began as soon as you had a kundalini awakening. Now, where do you feel the sensation? Well, you can feel those in your body in general. There is no a specific spot, but most likely you will feel this in the head. I remember, well, you might be also afraid of going to sleep. You can also be able to sleep, but it becomes hard because you're afraid of what might happen during your sleep. And I'm trying to be more precise here. Again, I use my story to relate because it's the one I know better than any other story. And I remember I was in my first phases of the kundalini awakening, and I was sleeping. I was in my bed, and remember I just woke up in the middle of the night. It was night because there was a complete silence. No, let me add something first. I remember, yes, I was sleeping, and remember hearing this sound, which was huge. I woke up. I had my eyes closed. I was not really conscious of me. I was woken up by this sound, and the sound was like a tornado. Imagine a tornado sound, which is moving, a strong wind, or like statics of the TV, the gray noise, the white noise, sorry, white noise from a TV, which is something we don't see nowadays with digital TV, but back in the days you have the white noise, or even the radio. You can see, you can hear that in airplane is gone. You can hear the same sound with the radio, which is something still is analogic, hopefully. So imagine that sound, but multiplied by 100. Was so huge that I woke up and I was sure I was into a tornado. I had no other words. Geez, there is a tornado here. And all of a sudden, the sound disappeared, and it was all quiet. So I heard this static noise so loud, it woke me up, and I thought, well, everybody around should be awake by now because the sound was so huge. But then silence, and so I started to look around my room, and it was my room exactly as I remember it, but it was strange because it was bluish. It had this blue tint all over. It was identical, but it was like blue. But I didn't care much about it. The point is, the more I was awake, and by the way, I felt awake, not like I'm awake now, more awake. I felt like I was in the real world. I don't know what to say, how to say this. I felt like I was more awake than a normal wakeful state that I'm now. Strange thing is, I was there looking in front of me, and I started to rise. Something started to happen. I felt like starting to raise over the bed, and I still have the goosebumps today. Remember feeling, I felt the body. I felt my body as I feel now, pretty much, and I felt the sheets of the bed through my legs. If you ever seen the movie Ghosts, when the guy, or any ghost movie at all, when the guy moves beyond the wall, I felt like passing through the sheets of the bed, and it was a strange sensation. And all of a sudden I realized I was moving upwards. So I was moving upwards the mattress, and at that point I realized I was flying, and I wanted to scream. I was so terrified. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. I had no voice. I couldn't scream because I had no vocal system. I had no physical body to scream with. And I remember starting to pray. I never prayed till the moment, the Jesus prayer. I started to pray. I was so terrified. And all of a sudden I woke up in my bed. And that was my first complete astral travel that I ever had. And at the point, I didn't know anything about this kind of stuff. I didn't believe it. But it was real. It happened. And of course, after that event, each time I went to bed, it was pretty hard to fall asleep because I was afraid of what was going to happen. One of the reasons why you might feel afraid of falling asleep, one is purely physical. Let's call it physical, metaphysical. It's energy that's really disrupting your nervous system, as putting you in the sympathetic state. Sympathetic state is when you are in active mode. When we sleep, we are supposed to be in parasympathetic mode, which is the rest and recover mode. The kundalini energy coming up is by default activating the nervous system, thus mechanically hindering your sleep quality and ability to fall asleep. And we have the psychological aspect, which is the fear of what could happen. My own fear was to hear that sound, that high-pitched sound that you hear when you're about to go into the astral world. I didn't want to go there because I knew, at least for what I knew, it wasn't a pleasant place to be in. Now, let's discuss how much will this symptom last. As any other symptom during a Kundalini awakening, there is no timeline that's valid for everyone. Each and every one is unique, and your nervous systems, your meridians, your energetic body is different. So we cannot decide or speculate on how much will it last. It will last as long as you do not get your system and your body ready. Again, this is a whole energetic system which is activated, and your body is not able to handle it. The only thing you could do is to work to prepare the body and the mind to accept the energy. Being realistic, the insomnia could last a few days, a few weeks, but unlikely there's people which are into this phase for years, and it's a really unlikely position to be in. That's why it's important to spread more information, and that's why I'm here, because many people are suffering without having any clue on how to fix their sleep. Now, why it happens? Again, it happens because we have blocked meridians, nadis, call them as you wish, the energetic channels in the body that are supposed to transport the chi, the prana, are locked, are stuck. They are not ready to welcome this energy. Imagine a water pipe. If you try to channel a river into a small pipe, it will break. Or if you try to channel a lot of water in a small pipe, it will start to vibrate and make noises. So your whole purpose is to work on your body and mind with practices that allows your pipes to become thicker and bigger and larger. One of the reasons this is happening also at night especially is because Kundalini has, let's say, it has work to do. It has to accomplish some goals during your day. Cleaning stuff, cleaning old emotions, rewiring your nervous system, let's say. I don't like those kind of terms, but it's just to be clear, to have a common ground. So if you are, during the day, you are resisting this energy, you're not letting it do its things, it will just wait night. Because at night we are normally unable to resist. This is true even for people not during a Kundalini awakening. At night we are more prone. We develop the decision fatigue because during the day we depleted our willpower. Imagine willpower as a finite resource, and we deplete it during the day. So by the end of the day we have less of it. And if we use that, so if we deplete this decision resource every day, all day, to fight the kundalini process, at night it will find a way to do its things. When we are not being able, we don't have the energy, more energy to oppose to it. So stick until the end of the video, where I'll share a technique which will help you with this. What else you can do now to increase the chances you're getting a better sleep at night? Well, first of all, before Kundalini awakening, you could do whatever you wanted. You could completely neglect the so-called sleep hygiene, and you could drink alcohol, take a coffee before going to sleep. You could expose yourself to a lot of noises, a lot of stimulation. You could expose yourself to anything that stimulates the nervous system. Now, during the Kundalini awakening, you're more sensitive to everything. You are more sensitive to sounds, smells, light, people around you. And what does it mean is that you cannot do the things you used to do. You have necessarily to understand, and you can go online and look for sleep hygiene, and you have to become conscious of your sleep routine. If you neglected it before Kundalini, you cannot do that anymore. Sorry to say that, you cannot. And this comes from me, which I used to drink plenty of coffee during the day, and I used to drink, in a certain period of my time, a bottle of wine every night to be able to go to sleep, or smoke weed. Smoking weed was the only way I could relax the body. Now, today, I quit coffee. Was it hard? Yeah, was goddamn hard to quit coffee, and I have a sleeping routine which takes 1 hour, but is necessary. Unfortunately, I didn't find any other way around this. But if I want to sleep today, yet even years after the Kundalini awakening, I'm still very sensitive to anything. Now, let me give you some of the main sleep hygiene practices which you should at least implement right away. The first is to create complete darkness in your room. Your room ideally should be pitch black when you go to sleep. I will not go into details. You can find plenty much of information online, but get your room very dark. Absolutely remove any kind of electronics for at least 30 to 1 hour before going to bed. No phone, no computer, no screen at all. That kills your sleep. Make sure your room is cool enough. If necessary, take herbals, take chamomile, take valerian, take melatonin, and those natural supplements. And important, try to avoid any kind of stimulation. If necessary, just close the whole window and door and sit in a dark room for 30 to 1 hour before going to sleep. Use taps for your ears, and once you're in bed, I suggest to use a practice that is it was working very fine with me. Is start counting backwards from 300 and align it with your breath. So I would like start 300, 299, 298, 297. So each countdown is a breath out, exhalation. So you focus on the count and your belly. And again, sleep with your belly. Ideally, if this is an advanced trick, but if your nose is pretty much, I got problem. I always got problem with my nose. But if it is not your case, put a tape on your mouth and breathe with the nose only. Breathing with the nose helps you relax, stimulates the parasympathetic system. Breathing with the mouth stimulates the sympathetic system. Or forget about it, because maybe if you're anxious already, putting a tape on the mouth could worsen stuff. Well, if you feel like to, try the tape on the mouth. If not, forget about it. Said nothing. During the day, practice the grounding, the common suggested grounding practices. Stay in nature, like I am now. Put the feet on the ground. Stay around natural things. Stay away from technology, computer. Listen to the birds. So do as much as you can to, I know if you have a work and kids, it could be very hard, and I agree it's hard, but try as much as you can to stay in nature and to engage in try to make your daily routine more slower, go slower. Now the last thing, but I should have put this first, is the DAM technique. Is a technique which I suggest to anybody in kundalini syndrome, and it works despite of the syndrome. It could help you. It's a general medicine, let's say. It doesn't help you only with the sleeping, but all the other symptoms. I will not teach the technique here because I have a specific video on my YouTube, and I will put the link somewhere over this video or in the description. Go to check the other video, and it's 3-step techniques to help you get back in control of the energy, so that it lets you sleep and live your life normally. Also, I work one-on-one with people, so if you need help with your kundalini emergency, click the link in the description and let's talk about it together. Bye.